What is up, guys? Give me the video game scientist from VG Bootcamp here with my brothers John, aka JDL4, and Matthew, aka Apostle. Now, all of us are here, but the big brain behind the entire filmmaking process, since he was 11 and we were 7 and 8, was John. He forced us to do it. It was filmed through 3 different times.
Three different VHS tapes, actually, too.
Yeah, and
that we just taped over.
Yeah, and he actually remastered and had a lot of VFX shots, so I guess I'm just going to throw it over to you and let you talk about it.
Sure, yeah. So the tapes were originally filmed on or around 1997, 1998. The tapes were rediscovered in 2012. Our grandparents moved from one house to another. My grandfather one day said, "Hey, I found some tapes. Looks like your handwriting as you were a kid." So it was kind of a side project. I bought a VHS deck that was professional, captured the footage. And then in 2017, when we did our fundraising stream for our mother, I did a little bit of work and just added some music, but it was really rushed and it wasn't the true remastering, so I put it on hold. Then, of course, 2020 happened. We had a bunch of free time starting in April. And I just slowly started to add music, sound effects, and I was like, you know what? I really think we should just go ahead and add the special effects. How hard could it possibly be? Is what I told myself originally. 3 months later.
Well, I actually wanted to quickly ask about that. Do you think, since you've added some VFX shots to some of your other short films,
Yes.
was it harder to add them to VHS since you had to try to keep it looking granular?
All right, well, let me just preface that by saying I edited and remastered this film in a way that was meant to preserve the feeling that it was made by kids. I purposely left in a lot of mistakes, a lot of things that wouldn't be considered professional in a movie, but they're funny as hell because it's kids.
Rubble falling onto the ground. There's no way I'll be able to get back upstairs. I'll find a way. Fall on the ground. No, I'm going to be using the gun, so I'm going to know when I'm...
So to answer your question, it was a little bit easier actually because the lower resolution meant I could work more quickly on the computer without lag or having to worry about having 20 layers on a timeline slowing my computer down. So in that sense it was easier, but yes, to make it match and look grainy, there was a bit of a learning curve, and I had to do some tweaks here and there to preserve the VHS look for some of the effects. But for the most part, they were meant to be semi-realistic, looks like a kid made them.
Yeah.
An electricity gun.
In the end, it was about 78 VFX shots and about 2 months of editing, anywhere between 4 to 5 hours a day. 6 days a week, I took a day off.
Yeah.
So for Matt, the film was filmed over the course of maybe a year, and you're seen to physically grow taller, get a haircut, etc.
This means we have
More guns.
So what was it like filming this over the course of being 8 to 9 years old? And do you remember anything specific about being older from one segment to the next?
You picked the wrong day to mess
'Cause I also noticed you were being a little bit more assertive and everything in the later segments.
I honestly feel like that's 100% has to do with you just being bigger than me and then you not being bigger than me anymore. So I wasn't afraid of you. So I felt like I could just be myself, and it wasn't like you were being super mean to me. I was just a little kid.
Typical older brother.
Yeah, I was just a little kid, so I just got really quiet when I felt like I was gonna get told I was wrong, and then when I stopped caring, I stopped caring. It was obvious.
That makes sense, yeah. Because I could see that being the case, because it was pretty obvious on screen, how that was happening.
It was also, I think, one of the first times we all just did something consistently together, and it forced us to, get used to each other's personalities a little bit. So, that's also part of it.
Because we had done a bunch of little tiny 1-minute things.
But adults were in charge of those things.
Right.
You basically were in charge of this, and I don't think I understood that at first.
I still don't know exactly how we were given permission to use this camera, because it was Mom had to I don't know, I don't think she paid for it. It had to have been $4,000.
I think it was
or something
Mammo's,
back
and
then.
we were just borrowing it.
No, because Mammo's got stolen.
Yeah,
out of
his
his
got
car.
stolen. I
Right.
remember that Mom got this for Christmas one year. It was when I was about 12 or 11.
Yeah, it was...
And there's one home movie of her recording us playing Tomb Raider, and just she interviews Calvin, and Calvin brings up a little school project he made, which was his life up to 8 years old, which was hilarious. I'll find that later.
Oh, you need to find that.
And then it cuts to 2 other things, and that's it. I don't think she ever used it ever again. We just totally took over that camera. and started making like stop motion movies, little like fun
Yep.
fighting things, and then
I
this.
just don't understand
Every
why
new-
she bought it. I just
Every
never
new
got it.
technology that we got access to, we just tried to use it as much as possible.
Yes, it worked. Look, it has a message on it.
The key to the safe is on the second floor, third door, top drawer.
The key to safe.
Whether it be video games, camera, internet. When
We
that
got
happened.
lucky with computers because our stepdad worked at a software company.
Yep.
So we immediately had a computer in our house with internet when it was possible.
Exactly, and that was around this time too, actually, when around that time's when we got this camera.
This is when the internet started popping off. We were like,
Mhm.
new world. Because, you know, nowadays you can choose your phone. But you had to, like, if you wanted to, like, take home videos, it was a real investment.
Right,
Back in the
exactly.
day.
So why were you Leon and I was Chris?
I don't think we really thought about it too much. I think
Because I don't know.
Chris
I don't
was the
remember.
main character of the first one, so maybe somewhere that made you think that was a better character to be.
That makes
But
sense.
I think over time, Leon is definitely
Yeah.
the preferred character. However, I think personality-wise, how you were like barking orders at me and stuff, it makes a lot more sense you were Chris, because
Right.
that's the way Chris is.
the
kind of.
physical look though of the haircuts
Yeah.
basically were backwards.
Yeah,
But other
yeah.
than that, yeah.
I mean, obviously, I think for a project of this quality, the visuals probably would have been better
Right,
than
yeah.
the other part, but it's whatever.
I also think that Resident Evil 4, you know, that was one with Leon, was
Mhm.
the game that made Leon, like, the obviously most popular character. Because that game
Yeah,
was
that's why
like
I said over time.
Yeah,
Right,
it was
yeah.
just a ridiculous hit.
Well, I do remember it wasn't Resident Evil 2 with Leon and Claire. You had to start as Leon.
Yeah.
So maybe it was around the time. I mean, I think.
Yeah, Resident Evil 2 was also a very, very popular game.
Yeah.
True.
But we
loved the
we were not
playthroughability of
we
that,
were
the
not
replayability.
aware we were not aware of like the cultural impact of games when we were younger, because we didn't have access to like that many people who were like doing what we were doing. So
Right.
to us, our personal like look on things was a lot more stronger back then. Like, so like I think we thought Resident Evil 1 was better until later, when like it became more obvious. We got older,
Mhm.
actually understood how game development works. That was like, oh,
Right.
2 was actually way better. Like if you actually
If
play
you
it
look
again,
at it-
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, objectively from a
Yeah.
gameplay standpoint, for sure.
I think us as kids, a lot of the time the original was just like when you're a kid, the original thing, you just lock that into your brain as being the better thing. And even though a sequel is always going to be derivative,
Mhm.
it's like fair that it's derivative because it's a sequel. But like as kids,
Right.
you don't realize that. You're just
Yeah.
like, that was the original. It's the better.
We love
one."
the original. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember playing and then you guys watching, and like if you weren't watching, I wasn't gonna play.
So I couldn't play Resident Evil. I was too scared when I was a kid.
That's why I had to
I
have you
always
guys
watched.
watching.
I always watched you play it. I did not want to play it. The first game
never
that was
played it.
like that kind of game that I played was Dino Crisis, and I played it by myself. And
That was a good one.
for some reason, and I don't know why, unlike Resident Evil, you could clear out a room and go back to it, and just dinosaurs would respawn in the rooms. And I was just like, why? You're giving me limited ammo like it's a Resident Evil game,
Right.
but I
Why
have
are
to
all
deal
these
with
enemies
respawns.
respawning? That's funny.
Do you remember what games we were playing around the time of this movie? I think that would be an
Resident
interesting-
Evil, definitely.
Yeah.
Uh,
Tomb Raider.
There was this
Remember
weird
that?
game where you were stuck in a spaceship with a little robot.
Yeah, what was that called?
I found it. It looked like Half-Life 1. Like the
And there was
graphics.
like this part where a hole opened in the floor and like we died falling in that hole like 100 times.
Yeah, well, there were people turning into like creatures in the ship, so it was a terrifying game. But like, it looked like Half-Life 1, so the graphics were so bad that like if you went back and played it, you'd just be like, "This game
Right.
scared
I think
me."
that was also around Pokemon.
Yep, I remember Pokemon Snap playing that in the basement of that house, but that must have been like years later.
No, if
Like
it was
a
like
year or
around
two.
Or a
19,
couple
you said
years.
1998, right?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's around
That's
that time.
when they dropped. So
That means we had the N64.
It was right before my Smash Bros.
Right? Or
obsession.
was
no,
that-
no.
It was
Game,
1998.
Pokemon on Game Boy,
No, I was talking about Pokemon Snap.
That was on the N64. So
That was.
it's probably we had
but
it.
that was later.
Probably had it by
You
then.
were
It was
right.
like
Yeah,
2
that was
years or
later.
something.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we like rented half our games. So.
Well, you could see some of the games we
Beat 'em,
had.
sent them back.
You could see some of the games we had in the movie because we had Game Boy cartridges and
Nintendo. We saved
yeah,
as
Nintendo
many of our
cartridges.
games as we could, and then sometimes we
and Super
sold them.
Nintendo.
Sold them to get the next console games because that's
Yep.
the only way we get games.
Or we would play them at our friends' houses. when possible.
Resident Evil Childhood.